Hello and welcome to Last Week in Finance. Today is November 1st of 2020. Let's start with the numbers. The S&P 500 went down this week 5.64%. Right now the S&P is at 3,269 points. Gold prices went down this week as well, 1.19%. Right now, the ounce of gold is at $1,878. Silver also went down almost 4%. Right now, the ounce of silver is at $23.64. The DXY went up 1.2%, and Bitcoin went up as well. Right now, a Bitcoin is at $13,761. Okay, the main story this week was the GDP numbers. The GDP went way up. Right now, the US GDP is at 21.2 trillion US dollars. But remember, just before the COVID-19 crisis landed in the US in March, the US GDP was at 21.6 trillion US dollars. On this last quarter, the 22 million jobs lost, half were recovered, mostly service jobs. Also this week, the oil prices went down. It's the West Texas is at around $36 per barrel. And the thing is, also the main companies put their quarter earnings report. It was around, it was expected, it was slightly good for most of them. They were even better for others like Alphabet, the Google parent company. Now, why this is this does this doesn't matter very much? Well, very simple. Right now, what is happening is where I have talked about this a bunch of times. The Federal Reserve, the quantitative easing, they're printing money, they're even monetizing the debt. They don't want to say that, but that's what they're doing right now, and it's frightening that this thing is gonna continue this trend. They're gonna keep buying the US Treasury bonds, which are very bad. They're a bad investment right now. The interest yield is ridiculously low, and I just don't recommend to hold US Treasury right now. The other thing, it doesn't matter who wins, Trump or Biden. At the end is Jerome Powell, who you should be looking at, and and he said it himself. He just wants to keep printing money, keep the quantitative easing, and that's not gonna end good. What I have been listening all this, the past month, even guys like Peter Schiff, which I respect pretty much, I always listen to his podcast. He's putting the doom scenario where the U.S. is gonna lose the world's reserve currency, and that I'm not sure it's gonna happen. He says it will be a transition to just using gold. I don't see it right now happening. Is possibly I'm not discarding that, but you have if you're listening to this, you have to watch the performance of other currencies, and they're bad. The euro, yen, the Chinese renminbi, they're not good. But the U.S. in the next few years is gonna take a hit with the U.S. dollar. The U.S. dollar will be depreciating against currencies like the euro. I believe that's gonna happen, and also I believe the many emerging currencies will be appreciating against the US dollar, especially in those countries where commodities are, have a heavy burden on the economy. I believe that in the next few years we will see an increase of the commodity prices, not as much as what we saw after the great financial crisis of 2008. Okay, the thing is, in all these numbers, we have to take it with a grain of salt. The recovery is good. I mean, it's better than what I have expected, and because we have to remember that many things happen, many bad things that happened this year in the financial world happened due to the coronavirus, not just to irresponsibility of the Fed. Now, this recovery, like Peter Schiff said, it's a phony recovery, and he's partially true. It's mostly true actually. And the thing is, because they're printing money, they're giving these stimulus, the PPP loans, the bailouts, you name it, and this is all tech and stimulus. It's a phony economy. The U.S. economy is 70% consumer spending, and of course, the consumption boost significantly during the pandemic, and mostly because this great amount of this consumption come to unemployed people who receive the stimulus checks, and you can figure out the rest. What is gonna happen next? I don't know. We're gonna keep with the election. Of course, I'm gonna do my next podcast next week. It's gonna be dedicated to the U.S. election. Many are saying that Biden is a sure winner. I don't believe that. I believe Trump has a very good chance to retaking the White House, to going on with the re-election. I believe it's a 50-50 right now. So it's closer than most people are talking about. Well, that will be all for this week. Take care, be safe, and see you next week. Bye bye.